What's up, everyone, and welcome to the In the Lane podcast. This is the podcast where your favorite New England athletes, coaches, and more get interviewed and asked fun questions. I'm your host, Mike Lane, and today we welcome the one and only Coach Lisa Rasanen, the head coach of the North Andover High School girls varsity soccer team. Thanks for coming on the show, Coach Rasanen.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, I don't think so. Well, I guess the NAAA, I don't know if it's a podcast or not, but I did talk with Purdy once a couple years ago, but I feel like it was a little bit different than this.
Okay.
My first time, I think.
So since you're the coach of the girls varsity soccer team, were you a soccer player yourself?
I have been playing soccer since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
So yes, very long time.
Could you tell us about that, like how it was being a player?
Sure. So I'm one of three girls, and I'm in the middle. So my oldest sister, who also lives here in town, so does my younger sister. I think I probably tried to emulate her a little bit when she was first doing sports, because she was able to do it a little bit ahead of me. Mm-hmm. Back when we first started in NASA's soccer program, it was still co-ed. So I got to play soccer not just with her eventually, but also with the boys I was in school with. So it was a little bit different than it is today with the separation so early. But I got to play with kids' parents, like Shane Lawler's dad was on my team
very
as a kid.
Cool.
And so that was really fun as a kid growing up, being able to do that.
That's very cool. So you played in North Andover, so you grew up in North Andover?
I did. I grew up in North Andover. I graduated from high school in 1996. Mm-hmm. And I went to the high school and then went to Merrimack, and I played there. And then after graduating, I decided to come back and coach.
Awesome. So you played at Merrimack. Could
Yep.
you describe on how it was playing there?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do coming out of high school. I loved sports. I loved basketball as well. That was definitely also a passion of mine. So when I decided to go to Merrimack, I was majoring in athletic training and physical therapy at the time, not to teach math, which is what I do now. But I decided I wanted to try to continue playing because I loved it so much. I wasn't ready to give it up.
Yeah.
So I went, tried out as a freshman, and I was lucky enough to make the team.
Awesome.
And ended up having a great experience at the collegiate level too.
Awesome. When you were playing soccer, did you ever have to come over an injury?
It's interesting now as I see all of these female athletes, and I mean, not just female athletes, but specifically soccer players with all of these knee injuries, and you watch them go through the rigor of this rehab. And for me, I was very lucky and had limited, broke a toe or sprained an ankle, but nothing that was really a major threat to my athletic career ending.
Okay.
Even through college, you have these minor injuries that you're able to rehab, quickly. But I never had to go through something like recovering from an ACL tear, which I've had to kind of help players through over the years from coaching at the high school level. There's just been so much more of that. Mm-hmm. I think for a variety of reasons than when I was playing myself.
Okay.
So I was lucky in that way that I didn't have to overcome a massive injury.
Mm-hmm. We'll get back to the playing soccer, but I want to get more into coaching. So what made you decide to want to coach at North Andover?
Yeah, so obviously you can tell by what I've just talked about. I love the game of soccer itself, right? I love how it's not always the same, and on any given day, anyone has a chance to win. If you can counter someone's attack and, prepare a good defense to create more offense. So I loved the game for a long time. So I actually started coaching when I was in high school. And then when I was in college, I joined a youth program through the state, and I actually coached clinics at the Girls and Boys Club in Lawrence every summer for the entire month of July.
Wow.
I would go from 8 to 12. I went with Sue Cookson, who played with me at Merrimack. She was from Andover. And we went and we taught soccer to all different age groups. And it was really there where I was able to introduce soccer to kids who maybe had seen it before, had played it maybe in the backyard, but hadn't had any formal training, all the way through kids who had, moved here from different places and probably had better skills than I did as an eighth grader, And so that really, I think, I started to get the coaching bug as a college player, kind of giving back in the community.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
How was the transition going from a player to a coach?
I think at first I started in 2001 at North Andover High School, and I graduated college in 2000. So I wasn't that much older than the players that were seniors. They're 18, I'm 23. And I think one of the things I liked most when I was first starting my coaching career is that I could still get out there and do all of the things. Like, okay, I want you to receive a ball this way, or shield in this direction, or here's a defensive move you can try to use and master. So I think when I first started coaching, coming from the player's perspective, I was able to really get out there and like show and teach at a high level. I still try to do that from time to time, but I'm not as limber as I used to be, so that's a little bit more challenging. But I really did enjoy that initial transition from player to coach, just with the change in perspective, right? You're not just worried about your one self and what I'm doing, and you're kind of looking at how can I teach the game to these kids versus playing the game. And that's something that I think has helped me in the classroom as well.
So you started as an assistant coach, and then you worked your way up to head coach?
Yep.
How long were you an assistant before you became head coach?
So as I was graduating from Merrimack, my high school coach was still coaching at North Andover, Bud McCarthy. He passed away a couple of years ago. He was a longtime educator at the middle school. He was a history teacher. And he had reached out and said, I'm looking for a new JV coach. We want to come on and help out. So that's how I started in 2001. And I coached with him for till 2011, I think. So for 10 years, 10 seasons. And then he retired and was still coaching, retired from teaching and was still coaching. And then eventually Mr. Wood and I started coaching at the varsity level after being assistant or JV coaches since 2001. He started with the boys and I started with the girls at the same time.
Very cool. I pulled up your record of last season, 4-13-1. Maybe not the best year, but I've been to a bunch of your games, and you have a lot of potential. What's something that you might want to do different next season so you can improve that record?
Yeah, so this was kind of a unique season for us in my coaching career, whether it was JV or at the varsity level. I've been very fortunate with always having a kid or two who really had like a nose for the goal and could kind of capitalize on opportunities and find a way to score goals. And this season, I don't know what it was. We really struggled with that. And it wasn't necessarily that we didn't get the chances. We had a lot of chances, whether it was corner kicks or through balls for breakaways, and we just couldn't figure out kind of our offensive rhythm. That was kind of a stressor for us. And I think one of the takeaways from that is I focused a lot of practice time on our offense and on our offensive structure. And while I think that as a team they grew a ton in their understanding of how to move the ball and create opportunities, I think the downside of that was that it created a lot of pressure for them. And they had so much offensive pressure. So then when they did get a breakaway or they did get an open shot, it was almost like I have to be the one that can score today, or I have to be the one that converts on this. And so that balance of you want to teach them how they can be better at something. But maybe in reflection, I could have also made sure that they didn't feel like the whole winning and losing wasn't just on our offense. Obviously our defense had to, protect the goal and not let in goals, but having that balance of accountability so that maybe they didn't feel overly pressured to score.
That makes sense. So soccer can be a very intense sport. Would you consider yourself an intense coach?
I think sometimes I can be intense in a game situation. I'm definitely more relaxed at practice and when we're going through things. I do expect a lot of kids in terms of when we're asking them to try something to trust. And I ask a lot of them in terms of their fitness level. And those type of things I feel like I can be intense about. But in general, I definitely feel like I'm intense in games. But in practice, I try to keep it a little bit lighter.
Okay, so you save the intensity for the game, not let it all out on practice. I respect that.
Yeah.
If any of your players are nervous before a game or if they're just really struggling, what's something that you might do to get their confidence up?
Yeah, so, I even think this year we had a lot of younger kids, some freshmen playing in games, sophomores playing in games. And one of the things I had talked with some of them about was that I'm asking you to do something because I believe you can do it, right? I'm never going to put you on the field and set you up for failure. So if I believe it, you have to start coming around to believing it. And I could give you just a quick example and give her a shout out, but Lila Creedy really wanted to consistently come back to her right foot this season and didn't really believe that she could score a lot of goals with her left. And one of our final games was against Drake-it, and she had the opportunity after a pass, and she just ripped a shot lefty, and it was amazing. And it was one of the things I had said, like, the first time it's not going to be good. The second time it's not going to be good. The 10th time it probably still won't be good. But all of a sudden, the 15th and the 16th and the 17th, when you're doing it in game speed, those are going to start to go in, and you have to kind of believe it. And we'd had that conversation after we had played Lawrence, where she was playing great, and I really wanted her to work on that left foot. But she didn't necessarily believe it herself. So kind of reminding them that I'm on their side and just to work at things and work to get better, even though you might fail the first few times. Like, it's okay to keep trying and trying to get to where you want to get to. And for her, you really saw it in that game, and she had an amazing goal, and I was really happy for her.
That was an awesome game. I announced a bunch of those games, and that was such an amazing goal.
Yeah.
And I'm not much of a soccer person, but I just knew that was awesome.
It was awesome.
So is there any player or multiple that really stood out and exceeded your expectations?
I think one of the big ones was, so coming in, I have a daughter who's a freshman. So her teammates I've got to see for a long time. Like, I started coaching in GK when we moved here, and she was a first grader. So kids that were sophomores and kids that were freshmen, I have a lot of experience with seeing them play, just as they've progressed through the youth level. And I think Brinley DeRocher is a freshman. She's maybe 5'1", if I'm being generous. She's not a big kid, but she has outstanding soccer IQ. Her skills are really, really good. She's just a very good all-around player. She primarily played defense for us this year because it's what we needed. But then there were times where we needed an offensive spark, and I moved her up the field, and she was able to create that. So it's not easy for a kid to come in as a freshman and not be nervous and not be timid. And she just, right from the beginning in our first scrimmage, she really showed that she was ready for the challenge. So she's one of the kids who I knew that she'd get there, but she got there real quick. And she was rewarded for that at our MVC meeting, being named a all-conference second-team member as a freshman, which is a really big accomplishment. We had several kids who were named for all-conference: Meg Daly, Sid Rogers, Kate Fry. I feel like I'm missing one. And Bryn. So, 4, and Bryn. So that was a good accomplishment for all of them. Kate Fry was another one who really came into her own. She's been on the team for a couple years. Her skill level is just so fun to watch. Like, I see her at practice and the things she can do, and I feel like it really came together with her physicality this year. So that was also really nice to see.
Very, very cool. Do you have any, fun moments being a player or coach that just keep coming back to you, like a really fun memory?
Gosh, I've coached so many really great kids. Even just this past weekend, my nephew's a senior on the boys team, so I was able to go to their playoff game in Acton-Boxborough, and I was able to see Ashley Janchek, who graduated in 2020. So she was part of the, I think that's right, 2019 team. When she really had formed a cute bond with my daughter, whose name is also Ashley. And it was nice to kind of see them interact. My daughter's now an 8th grader, and Ashley's out of college and kind of on her own, and we were at this boys soccer game, and it was, life comes full circle sometimes. And being able to see Vanessa Mabley, who was a senior on my team, her, James, and my nephew Trevor, they were my ball kids for Ashley's team. Mm-hmm. Along with my little ones that would come running around. And so it's I love to see kind of those full circle moments where Vanessa's older sister Claudia was on the team, and Ashley Janchek, and their younger siblings wanted to be part of it. And now they're the kids that are my seniors and my leaders. And so those type of fun memories I always look back on. And I love coaching, and I've been really blessed with some awesome kids, and some great teams over the years. Yeah.
So when playing, I don't think I asked you this question. I'm not an expert in soccer, but what position did you play?
That's a great question. All of them except for goalie.
Okay.
When I was a freshman in high school, we had a really small freshman class. So I got to play on the freshmen for some games, for JV for some games, and then at the end of the season, I was able to play in a few varsity games, which was awesome. And I mostly played offense as a freshman. I played center mid or forward. And then after that, while I was playing on a club team locally as well, I mostly played defense until I was a senior in high school. One of my teammates was hurt, and as a senior, I went back and played center midfield. And then when I went to college, I played defense.
Very
the
cool.
whole time. Yeah.
The 1 year that I played soccer, I was probably back in kindergarten. I wasn't not the best soccer player, but I was a good goalie and defense. That's what my dad told me, and he was one of the coaches. Not a great shooter, but a good goal.
Tough.
Yeah.
Goalie's tough. You really have to have no fear. It's not for me.
What's your favorite moment as a coach, but also a favorite moment as a player in soccer?
I think as a coach, one of the things that's maybe like most rewarding is when you have a team or a group of kids who collectively share the same goal and work towards that goal and realize success that they didn't think was possible. And a quick example of that is last year we had a great senior class as well, and we were matched up with Winchester in middle of October. It was an away game. We were playing in this little mini Krause Cup tournament down in Concord, Carlisle that they organized 4 teams from 4 different leagues. And I think at the time Winchester was ranked number 2 or 3 in the state for Division I. So, kind of going in, we had a decent record, but this was going to be like a tough matchup. They had some super talented kids. Like their whole team basically plays club soccer or soccer most of the year. And we knew it was going to be a tough matchup. But one of the things I had told our team is as we had progressed through the season, like we were ready. We were very cohesive defensively. Kendra Ruland had come back from a ACL tear, coming back to injuries, and was playing phenomenal. And I knew she could totally shut down Winchester's best player. And so we went into that game kind of maybe with limited expectations, like let's do our best and work on the things that we've been working on, provide a good showing. And we won. And
Wow.
we won 1-0, and we scored an awesome goal. We played tremendous defense. And I guess one of the best parts at the end of the game was when a reporter said, like, are you surprised you won? And I'm like, no, these kids, like, that's why you play sports, right? Like, maybe if I looked player to player, their skills may have been superior, but the grit and the hard work and the effort and the intensity and playing together as a group and as a soccer family, like sometimes that outweighs all of those other things, right? Those intangible pieces of athletes that have no quit. Like those are the best moments in soccer when someone doesn't believe you can do it and then you come and you surprise them. And that was a little bit of my own playing career, deciding very late in April that I was going to go to Merrimack and getting an opportunity to try out for their team and then finding myself in a starting role as a freshman isn't something that I expected, but I worked for it. And then when I was given the opportunity, not letting it slip away. And you earn it one day, you have to earn it every day. And that's something that I try to instill in my team. We don't have the starting lineup week after week after week. And they earn playing time at practice, and they battle with each other at practice. And I think my seniors really exemplified that this year when they were given different opportunities out on the field. Versus Chelmsford, versus Dracut. They really pulled together as a group and did really great things.
Mm-hmm. So that was your favorite moment as a coach. What's your favorite moment as a player?
I would have loved to say, like, winning a state championship in high school, which didn't happen. But I guess maybe my freshman year in college, my team did very, very well. We ended up ranked 3rd or 4th in the country at one point in time. And we made it for the first time to the NCAA tournament at the time, believe it or not, the Division II NCAA tournament for girls soccer, women's soccer, was only 8 teams. So to make it in the top 8 by the end of the season was so limiting.
Wow.
So we ended up as a freshman. When I was a freshman at Merrimack, we made it. And then we made it again when I was a senior. They had expanded the pool to 16 teams, but So I guess as a player, being rewarded at the national level, I guess, and being respected as a program nationally to be able to make it to the NCAA tournament twice was pretty awesome.
Very, very cool. Do you have a favorite type of music before a game?
So interesting. Obviously, being able to listen to music the way you guys do now is totally not what I had as a kid. I was big into soundtracks. So like Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite soundtracks. So that was like definitely I had like the CD in my little Discman on bus trips when I was in college. But I like old school, like, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen or Billy Joel or I don't know, stuff like that. It's Aerosmith. I kind of listen to it all, but something I can sing along to and kind of enjoy in the moment.
Like classic music.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite soccer player, men or women?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I definitely in recent years have been a fan of players like Carly Lloyd. She was really good. Crystal Dunn right now on the national team. She played defense for a really long time, and then in this past Olympics moved up the field and played more midfield. Players that are diverse and creative. Abby Wambach for me for a while was just amazing. She just played with so much intensity and so much passion. I loved that about her. So I guess those were my most recent top three. Obviously, when I was a kid, Mia Hamm was pretty awesome. But yeah, recently, I guess those were my top three in the last decade.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite college or professional soccer team that you like to watch?
Not really. I mean, I loved when the Boston Breakers were here. That was the women's professional team that was here. They disbanded. I should say Megan Rapinoe I've always enjoyed watching too, and she played out in Oregon. I'll watch whatever's on, but I don't necessarily have a favorite. It's a little different because we don't have a home time. I mean, I've been to Revs games and I like the Revs too, but on the women's side, I think because we don't really have a local team, I just cheer for them all.
I don't really watch a lot of women's soccer, so where's the closest?
So New York, New Jersey. Yeah, the Gotham team is pretty good. So every once in a while, they'll do something that might be a little bit closer. But really, if you're going to watch professional soccer, you'd watch the Revs, and it would be the men's team, which still is fantastic to go see. And I brought my kids there. But if you're going to go locally, you have to drive to New York, New Jersey to be able to see a professional game. I'm hoping, though, with the Olympics coming here, I actually got to go to an Olympic game, a soccer game, when I was in high school at Foxborough.
Very
the
cool.
Old Foxborough. So I'd love to be able to go again. And I wouldn't care. I don't care who's playing, It wouldn't matter to me.
All right. That's all the questions I have for you. Coach
Awesome.
Rasanen, it was a pleasure having you on this show. Best of luck next season. You're going to do great, this team.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the episode of the In the Lane podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to drop a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode. I'm your host, Mike Lane, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.